The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes even the loudest thoughts in your mind sound sharper. Streetlights flickered softly, casting long shadows across the empty roads. The FBI director was driving home after a long day at work. The meetings had been tough, filled with pressure, decisions, and the weight of responsibility. His mind was still racing with the events of the day, reports to review, strategies to consider, and faces of people depending on his decisions. He was tired, but there was a calmness to the night drive that usually helped him unwind, a brief pocket of peace before he returned to the chaos of his life. The road was almost empty, with only a few cars passing by. He was enjoying the rhythm of the tires on the pavement, the way the engine purred quietly, and the cool breeze coming through the slightly open window. It felt like the world had slowed down just for him. That peace, however, was suddenly interrupted when he saw flashing lights behind him. Red and blue lights danced in his rearview mirror. He instinctively slowed down, confusion and surprise washing over him. Pulling over was automatic, but his mind started racing. Why was he being pulled over? He had not noticed any traffic violations, no signals missed, no reckless driving. His thoughts jumped to multiple scenarios, none of them pleasant. As he eased his car to the side, a sense of unease settled over him. The officer approached the vehicle with a serious, almost tense demeanor. The way he moved, the alertness in his posture immediately suggested this was no ordinary traffic stop. The officer's hand rested near his sidearm and his eyes scanned the car with intensity. "Sir, keep your hands where I can see them," the officer ordered firmly. The words were sharp, carrying authority, but also a hint of fear or suspicion. The director's hands went up slowly, and he kept them there, showing compliance. He realized the gravity of the situation instantly. He had faced danger countless times in his career, but this was different. This was a local officer, a stranger, and the misunderstanding could escalate quickly. The officer, sensing some level of unease in the car, took a cautious step back, but the hand on the gun never wavered. The director knew that a single wrong movement from either side could lead to a tragic outcome. His mind raced, considering every possibility, analyzing the situation from the perspective of someone trained in crisis scenarios, but also someone who was completely at the mercy of a moment's misunderstanding. He spoke calmly, trying to de-escalate the situation immediately. "I am the FBI director. Here is my badge. I mean no threat. I'm just heading home," he said clearly, showing his credentials without any sudden movements. The officer's eyes narrowed, a mixture of disbelief and caution flickering across his face. It was hard to know if he understood the magnitude of who he was dealing with. For the director, it was a strange experience, being at the top of a federal agency, usually commanding authority, yet completely vulnerable in this one moment. The air around them was tense, charged with the kind of energy that makes seconds feel like minutes. Passers-by slowed down, some stopping to watch, and a few people even began recording on their phones. The flashing lights reflected off nearby buildings, creating a surreal scene. For a moment, the director felt a wave of isolation, the peculiar feeling of being entirely dependent on someone else's judgment, even though he himself was trained to make quick decisions in high-pressure situations. He could see the officer's finger twitching slightly near the trigger. The tension was almost unbearable. As he continued to speak calmly, the officer's stance did not change much. Backup units were already on their way, responding to the call, which added another layer of intensity. Every siren in the distance made the moment feel heavier, more dramatic. The director remained composed, drawing from years of experience in stressful situations. He knew that panic would only make things worse. He tried to convey trustworthiness through his tone and body language. He made sure every word was clear, measured, and deliberate. Minutes passed, though it felt much longer. The director could hear the faint hum of the city around him, the distant barking of dogs, the occasional car passing on nearby streets. Yet the focus remained entirely on the officer in front of him. Both men were aware of the unusual nature of the encounter. The officer, trained to respond to potential threats, was reacting to the unknown. The director, trained to handle threats, was facing the unpredictability of human judgment. It was a collision of two worlds, one accustomed to authority, the other operating under strict caution. Nearby, people whispered, some expressing concern, others excitement, and a few murmured guesses about who might be in the car. The director noticed the attention but chose to remain focused. His breathing was controlled, his movements slow and deliberate. Every small gesture mattered in a situation where misunderstanding could turn dangerous. He thought about the officer, imagining what had prompted such a strong reaction. Was it the late hour, the type of vehicle, a recent alert? It was impossible to know, but he understood the pressure that comes with responsibility, even at the local level. The officer finally spoke again, his voice slightly less sharp, but still cautious. "Step out of the vehicle," he instructed. The director nodded slowly, carefully placing the keys on the dashboard and moving as instructed. His movements were deliberate, showing full compliance. The night air hit him, cold and crisp, heightening his senses. He could see the faint reflection of his badge under the streetlights and felt a strange mix of vulnerability and calm control. As the director stepped out, he kept his hands visible, making sure every motion was slow and intentional. The officer continued to hold his weapon, scanning the surroundings with focus. Backup officers arrived shortly, moving quickly to assess the situation. Their presence did not immediately ease the tension, but it created a buffer, a small reassurance that protocol would be followed. The director remained composed, calmly responding to questions and providing necessary identification. Each exchange was measured, deliberate, and careful, ensuring that no sudden move could escalate the situation. The scene was surreal. A top federal official, known to many in law enforcement, standing on a quiet city street at night, being treated as a potential threat. For the director, the experience was humbling, a stark reminder that no matter one's position, human error and caution could place anyone in a precarious situation. He reflected on the unpredictability of life, the fine line between authority and vulnerability, and the importance of patience and understanding. As the tension slowly began to ease with the arrival of backup officers and verification of his identity, the director maintained a sense of composure. He had faced dangerous situations before, but this encounter, mundane in one sense yet extraordinary in another, left a lasting impression. It was a moment where training, calmness, and clear communication intersected with human judgment and caution. The night would end without tragedy, but the memory of those tense minutes, the flashing lights, the raised gun, and the charged atmosphere would remain vivid. The director knew this story would be shared, dissected, and discussed widely. Yet in that moment, his focus was simple: remain calm, comply, and ensure the situation de-escalated safely. It was a lesson in patience, awareness, and respect for the unpredictable nature of human response. The quiet night, once disrupted, gradually returned to stillness, leaving behind the echoes of a tension-filled encounter that could have gone differently, but ultimately ended without harm. He would drive home that night with a renewed understanding of human vulnerability, the weight of responsibility, and the fragile balance between authority and safety. The moment the director stepped out of the car, the air felt heavier, as if the night itself was holding its breath. The officer's hand remained on his firearm and his eyes darted back and forth, scanning the surrounding streets. Every detail seemed important: the faint sound of footsteps on the pavement, the distant hum of traffic, the flicker of nearby lights. The director tried to remain as calm as possible, even as his mind worked overtime, considering every possible way this situation could escalate. He could feel the weight of the officer's caution, the seriousness behind each glance and movement. It was a strange, humbling experience to be on the other side of authority, where every gesture could be misread, every word could make a difference. The officer, despite his training and experience, was clearly on edge. There had been reports of a suspicious vehicle matching the director's car description, seen driving erratically in a nearby neighborhood. For all the officer knew, the situation could involve a dangerous individual. He had responded according to protocol, treating the unknown as a potential threat. But now, standing face to face with someone who clearly held a position of immense power and responsibility, the officer had to reconcile caution with verification. He asked the director repeatedly to confirm his identity, to show credentials, to step slowly and carefully. Each request added tension, but also slowly built a bridge toward understanding. The director, fully aware of the stakes, complied without hesitation. Every word was measured, every motion deliberate. He showed his badge again, spoke clearly about his role and purpose, and assured the officer that he meant no harm. Yet he also understood the officer's perspective. Law enforcement work often meant split-second decisions. sometimes with life or death consequences. The officer could not know who was behind the wheel until verification was complete. The director empathized with this, knowing that fear and caution were part of the human experience. Even at the highest levels of power, nearby, the city continued its quiet rhythm, though a small crowd had begun to gather, curious about the flashing lights and the tense standoff. Some filmed the scene on their phones, their whispers and muted excitement adding to the atmosphere. Each new arrival of a passerby made the situation feel both surreal and very real at the same time. The director could sense the eyes upon him, but he refused to let that distract him. His focus remained entirely on de-escalating the situation and ensuring that nothing went wrong. Backup officers arrived shortly, moving with the kind of precision and discipline drilled into them through years of training. Their presence helped ease some tension, creating a buffer between the officer and the director. They quickly began verifying identification, checking credentials, and coordinating with dispatch. The director remained patient, understanding that the process had to be thorough. He spoke calmly, answering questions without frustration, showing that he respected the officer's need for caution. As the verification process continued, the director reflected on the irony of the situation. In his career, he had confronted dangerous criminals, coordinated high-stakes operations, and faced threats where every second counted. Yet here in a quiet street at night, he was the one at risk, not from a criminal, but from a misunderstanding. It was a sharp reminder of the unpredictability of life, the vulnerability that exists even for those in positions of authority. The experience, uncomfortable as it was, also offered clarity, a reminder of the importance of patience, empathy, and careful communication. The officer's body language slowly began to change. The rigid tension in his shoulders eased slightly as he continued to check credentials and confirmed the director's identity with dispatch. His eyes, which had been sharp and wary, showed a flicker of relief. Yet he remained cautious, understanding that miscommunication could still pose a threat. He asked the director a few routine questions, each one procedural, each one necessary for the safety of everyone involved. The director responded patiently, his voice calm and steady, showing respect for the officer's diligence. Meanwhile, the crowd nearby whispered, speculating about who the person in the car might be. Some guessed a government official. Others wondered if it was a celebrity, but the truth was far more remarkable. The director could sense their curiosity, the collective tension of the moment, and he remained composed, aware that any sudden gesture could spark panic or misinterpretation. It was a delicate balance, maintaining authority through calmness, while simultaneously respecting the officer's duty and concern. After several tense minutes, dispatch confirmed the director's identity. Relief washed over the officer, visible in the way he finally lowered his firearm, though he did not completely relax. The director thanked the backup officers for their professionalism, acknowledging the difficult nature of their work. He understood that the officer had acted out of caution, not malice, and he wanted to make that clear. The incident was unusual, even extraordinary, but it was rooted in the natural human instinct to protect oneself and others from potential danger. Once the situation had been clarified, the director carefully returned to his vehicle, making sure every movement was deliberate and visible. The officer, now aware of the truth, offered a formal acknowledgement, a gesture that was as much about professionalism as it was about the shared recognition of the tense experience they had both navigated. The director's mind was still processing the events, replaying each moment and considering how quickly things could have gone differently. It was a stark lesson in vulnerability and awareness, even for someone trained to handle high-pressure scenarios. As he drove away, the director felt a mixture of relief and reflection. The quiet night resumed around him, though the memory of the flashing lights, the drawn gun, and the intensity of the encounter lingered. He thought about the officer, the training, the split-second decisions, and the human element that had influenced every action that night. It was a reminder that no matter one's position or experience, human judgment can never be fully predicted, and understanding is crucial in every interaction. The incident would soon make headlines, though in that moment it was a deeply personal experience, a reminder of how fragile safety can be, and how quickly misunderstandings can escalate. The director drove home with a heightened sense of awareness, reflecting on the importance of communication, empathy, and patience. He understood that for the officer, This would be a night remembered for the tension, the fear, and the responsibility carried in each decision. For him, it was a lesson in humility, a rare opportunity to see the world from a perspective he rarely experienced. By the time he reached his home, the night had grown even quieter. The adrenaline of the encounter slowly faded, leaving behind a mixture of exhaustion and thoughtful reflection. He knew the story would be shared, analyzed, and discussed widely, but for now it remained his experience, vivid and unforgettable. It was a story of tension, misunderstanding, and human reaction, a story that reminded him of the delicate balance between authority and vulnerability, caution and trust, fear and understanding. The director would think about this night for years to come, a reminder that even those at the highest levels of power are not immune to the unpredictability of human interaction. The officer's caution, the verification process, the calm professionalism of the backup units, all of it highlighted the importance of protocol, patience, and clear communication. It was a night that could have ended differently, but ultimately served as a powerful lesson in human behavior, responsibility, and the importance of empathy in high-pressure situations. The experience, though tense and unnerving, left a lasting impression, one that would shape his perspective on authority, vulnerability, and the unpredictable nature of life itself. Once the director's identity was confirmed, the tension in the air began to ease, but the experience left a lasting impression on everyone involved. The officer, still cautious, stepped back slightly, his weapon lowered, though the memory of the initial adrenaline rush lingered. The backup officers continued their assessment, ensuring everything was in order, verifying details and taking notes for their official report. For the director, it was a relief to see the situation de-escalate. Yet he knew that such an incident would be scrutinized, analyzed, and discussed widely in the days to come. He remained calm, understanding that staying composed was essential, even when the threat had passed. The officer approached the director with a mixture of professionalism and hesitation. He apologized, explaining that the call about a suspicious vehicle had made him highly alert, and the unknown nature of the situation required extreme caution. The director nodded, acknowledging the officer's duty to protect the public, recognizing that the intense reaction was a product of responsibility and human instinct. He could see the officer's concern, the effort to reconcile caution with the unexpected revelation of who he was dealing with. It was a rare and unusual moment where two worlds intersected, one of immense authority and one of ordinary duty, both navigating human judgment and emotion. The director took a deep breath. Feeling a wave of relief but also empathy, he understood that the officer had acted out of a desire to maintain safety, not out of disrespect or malice. It was a reminder of how quickly misunderstandings could escalate, how human perception and caution could intersect with high-stakes scenarios in unpredictable ways. The director spoke to the officer calmly, expressing gratitude for his careful handling and professionalism, while also acknowledging the difficulty of making quick decisions in uncertain circumstances. Their exchange, measured and respectful, helped to diffuse the remaining tension. Nearby, the crowd that had gathered began to disperse, murmuring among themselves. Some people were still recording on their phones, sharing clips and speculating about the events that had just unfolded. The director remained aware of their presence, maintaining composure and ensuring that his words and actions remained clear and deliberate. He knew that any misstep could be misinterpreted, that even a calm demeanor had to be paired with deliberate communication to avoid confusion. The night, though returning to normal in appearance, retained a sense of heightened awareness, a reminder that human interactions could carry weight far beyond what was immediately visible. Once the formalities were complete, the director carefully returned to his vehicle. Keeping his hands visible and movement slow, he reflected on the experience, considering the ways in which authority, caution, and human perception had interacted in such a high-stakes moment. It was a reminder that even those at the top of an organization were not immune to the unpredictability of life. Vulnerability, it seemed, was universal, and empathy was a bridge between positions of power and the ordinary human experience. He understood that the officer's actions, though intense, were guided by a genuine desire to maintain safety and protect the community. As he drove away from the scene, the director's mind replayed each moment, each gesture, each word exchanged. He considered how rapidly tension could escalate, and how vital patience, clarity, and understanding were in de-escalating potentially dangerous situations. He thought about the officer, the training, the responsibility carried in every decision, and the weight of human judgment. It was a sobering reflection, highlighting the intersection of protocol, instinct, and emotion in law enforcement. The night air felt different now, charged with the memory of what had transpired, a reminder of human vulnerability and the power of calm, measured action. At the same time, the director recognized the broader implications of the incident. Within law enforcement circles, it would serve as an example of how critical communication, verification, and procedure were during unexpected encounters. It highlighted the challenges officers face, especially when responding to unknown or potentially threatening situations. Mistakes could happen and misunderstandings could escalate quickly, but training, patience, and professionalism were essential in guiding outcomes toward safety. For the director, witnessing these dynamics firsthand was both enlightening and sobering, offering insight into the pressures and realities of routine duties performed under uncertainty. The officer, back at his post, was processing the experience as well. His heart rate had slowed, but the memory of drawing his weapon and facing someone he now knew to be the FBI director lingered. He reflected on the importance of following procedure while balancing caution with judgment. The incident would likely be part of official discussions and training materials, illustrating both the necessity of vigilance and the potential for unintended consequences. It was a learning moment for all involved, a reminder that even routine actions could carry significant weight depending on context, perception, and human reaction. In the days that followed, the story began to reach the public. News outlets reported the unusual incident, emphasizing the extraordinary nature of the FBI director being stopped by a local officer. Experts weighed in on the importance of protocol, communication, and the human elements that can complicate even the most straightforward situations. Social media buzzed with discussion, speculation, and analysis. People debated whether the officer had overreacted, whether better training or recognition could have prevented the escalation, and what lessons could be drawn from the encounter. For the director, this public attention was secondary to the personal reflections the incident had prompted. It was a moment of clarity, a reminder that patience, empathy, and respect for human caution were crucial in navigating unpredictable circumstances. The incident also sparked internal conversations within the police department. Officers discussed the event, evaluating the decision-making, the communication, and the response process. Supervisors emphasized the importance of verification, the need to assess situations carefully, and the human factors that influence judgment. The director's cooperation and calm demeanor were noted as exemplary, illustrating how composure and clarity could positively influence outcomes. The situation became a case study in both the challenges and responsibilities inherent in law enforcement, demonstrating how unexpected scenarios could test both training and human instinct. Meanwhile, the director took time to reflect personally. He thought about the vulnerability experienced, the trust placed in the officer's judgment, and the need for empathy in high-pressure moments. He considered how this experience, though unsettling, offered valuable insight into human behavior and the unpredictability of real-life interactions. It reinforced lessons about humility, the importance of clear communication, and the delicate balance between caution and overreaction. The incident, though brief, had a profound impact, leaving a lasting impression that extended beyond immediate circumstances. As the director resumed his normal schedule, he carried with him the memory of the night, a vivid reminder of the power of patience, awareness, and empathy. He knew that the lessons learned would influence future interactions, decisions, and reflections. It was a story of tension, misunderstanding, and eventual resolution, highlighting the human element that shapes every encounter. For the officer, the experience would remain a reference point, a reminder of the weight carried in every decision made under uncertainty. Both individuals, though from vastly different positions of authority, had shared a moment that underscored the complexity and unpredictability of human experience. The director also recognized the importance of sharing these lessons with others in law enforcement, emphasizing the value of understanding, patience, and measured response. He knew that situations like these could happen to anyone, regardless of position or training, and that the ability to navigate them calmly and effectively was critical. The incident served as a powerful reminder of human vulnerability, the weight of responsibility, and the potential for growth and learning in unexpected circumstances. The director and the officer had both emerged from the night with a deeper appreciation of human judgment, the challenges of decision-making, and the importance of empathy in every interaction. By the end of the night, the city had returned to its usual rhythm, yet the memory of the events lingered in the minds of all involved. The director reflected on the subtle lessons of patience, composure, and understanding, recognizing that even moments of tension could offer profound insight. The officer similarly carried with him the reminder of careful judgment, verification, and the impact of human perception. Together, their experiences converged into a story that illustrated the delicate balance between caution and trust, authority and vulnerability, fear and understanding. It was an extraordinary night, one that neither would forget, and one that would continue to shape their perspectives and actions in the days to come. The story of the FBI director being stopped by a local officer quickly reached the public. It spread through news channels, social media, and conversations among people in the city and beyond. The unusual nature of the incident, the top federal law enforcement official being held at gunpoint, captured the attention of everyone. Headlines emphasized the shock of the situation, the tension, and the quick resolution, while opinion pieces and social media posts debated every detail. For the director, it was a strange experience to see the story unfold publicly, knowing he had been part of something both extraordinary and deeply human. Media outlets interviewed experts in law enforcement, human behavior, and crisis management to explain what had happened. They discussed how split-second decisions, caution, and limited information can escalate situations, even with the best intentions. Many experts praised the officer for following procedure and acting to protect the public, while others questioned whether different actions could have prevented the initial tension. The story sparked a national conversation about law enforcement, training, and human judgment. People were fascinated, alarmed, and curious, wanting to understand the chain of events and the lessons behind them. Social media amplified the story further. Clips of the scene, conversations, and commentary circulated widely. Users debated the officer's response, the director's composure, and the risks involved in such unexpected encounters. Some criticized the officer, saying he had overreacted, while others defended his caution, noting that public safety required strict adherence to protocol. The discussions highlighted the complexity of human decision-making in tense situations, where fear, responsibility, and instinct intersect. The director, seeing these debates unfold, understood that public reaction would be varied, but he also realized that the story offered an opportunity to educate and share important lessons. Law enforcement agencies across the country took notice. Police departments reviewed the incident to see what could be learned and how similar situations might be handled in the future. Officers discussed the challenges of verifying identities, responding to unknown threats, and maintaining safety while minimizing misunderstandings. Supervisors emphasized the importance of clear communication, careful observation, and remaining calm under pressure. The incident became a case study in internal training sessions, demonstrating both the difficulty of rapid decision-making and the impact of human behavior in critical moments. Meanwhile, the director continued his work, reflecting on the public reaction and the broader implications. He recognized that while he had been at the center of a tense situation, it was a shared human experience, one that revealed vulnerability, the limits of perception, and the need for empathy. He spoke to colleagues about the importance of understanding human response, the challenges officers face, and the need for patience and clear communication. The incident became more than a personal experience. It became a teaching moment, illustrating how even those with authority and experience are affected by the unpredictability of human interactions. The officer involved also faced attention, though from a different perspective. His colleagues and supervisors reviewed the incident carefully, acknowledging his adherence to procedure while also discussing areas for improvement. The experience was humbling, a reminder that each decision carries weight and that the consequences of action or inaction can be significant. The officer reflected on his role, the responsibility he bore, and the importance of maintaining calm and control in high-pressure situations. For him, the event was a powerful lesson in judgment, caution, and the unpredictable nature of human behavior. Public discussions extended beyond law enforcement. People began reflecting on how misunderstandings can happen in everyday life, how fear and caution influence behavior, and how empathy can prevent escalation. Stories circulated of other encounters where simple miscommunication led to unnecessary tension. The director's experience became a symbol, reminding people that patience, awareness, and clear communication are essential in interactions, especially when stakes are high. It encouraged dialogue about human perception, responsibility, and the delicate balance between caution and trust. As the story continued to circulate, the director emphasized the importance of understanding rather than blame. He highlighted how the officer had acted out of duty, not disrespect, and how the situation could have been avoided only with more information in the moment. He spoke about how both parties learned from the encounter, the officer about handling high-profile situations calmly, and he himself about vulnerability and the human side of authority. Their shared experience became a reminder that even extraordinary individuals face ordinary risks, and that empathy and patience are crucial in every interaction. The community also responded with curiosity and reflection. Local residents discussed what they had witnessed or heard, some sharing personal stories of encounters with law enforcement. The incident became a topic of conversation in schools, offices, and homes as people considered the implications for public safety, trust, and human behavior. It highlighted how a single event, though unusual, could spark widespread discussion and learning. The director's calm handling of the situation served as a model, showing how composure and clarity can positively influence outcomes, even in the most tense circumstances. For the FBI director, the experience prompted internal reflection on protocols, interagency communication, and the human aspects of authority. He considered how law enforcement agencies could improve verification processes, how training could address human factors in decision-making, and how communication could be strengthened to prevent misunderstandings. He also reflected personally, recognizing the importance of humility, awareness, and patience. The event had been unsettling, yet it offered valuable insight into human nature, judgment, and responsibility. The officer, too, faced a period of reflection and professional evaluation. Supervisors emphasized lessons learned, training adjustments, and the importance of clear protocols. The incident would remain a reference point for years, a reminder of how even routine duties can become extraordinary under unusual circumstances. The officer understood that the situation had tested his judgment, patience, and ability to remain composed, and that those lessons would inform his future actions. As weeks passed, the story continued to be referenced in discussions about law enforcement, public safety, and human behavior. Analysts and experts noted that the incident was rare, yet it highlighted challenges faced daily by officers and the importance of empathy and understanding. The director's calm demeanor and the officer's cautious approach became points of learning, emphasizing that human judgment, while fallible, could be guided by training, patience, and awareness. The story became a teaching tool, a moment that illustrated the intersection of authority, vulnerability, and responsibility. In the broader sense, the incident inspired conversations about respect, trust, and communication between individuals, communities, and law enforcement. It underscored how quickly situations can escalate, how human perception and instinct play a role, and how empathy and patience can prevent misunderstandings. The director and the officer, though from vastly different perspectives, had shared an experience that transcended their roles, showing the universal nature of human response, caution, and responsibility. Ultimately, the incident was remembered not only for the tension and unusual circumstances, but also for the lessons it provided. It demonstrated how ordinary individuals and extraordinary officials alike navigate human judgment, fear, and decision-making under pressure. It showed the importance of clear communication, empathy, and patience, both in professional contexts and in everyday life. The story of the night became a reminder of the complexity of human behavior, the value of understanding, and the shared responsibility we all have to navigate challenging situations thoughtfully and respectfully. In the days following the incident, the officer faced an internal review by his department. Supervisors examined every detail: the approach to the stop, the actions taken during the confrontation, and the communication with backup units. While some colleagues defended the officer, noting the difficult position he had been in and the rapid decision-making required, others pointed out areas where caution could have been balanced with verification more smoothly. The review was thorough, professional, and fair, emphasizing lessons to be learned rather than punishment. Still, the officer understood that the incident would leave a mark, a reminder of the high stakes involved in even routine duties. The FBI director, meanwhile, continued his work, but the encounter remained on his mind. He reflected on the vulnerability he had experienced, the human judgment involved, and the lessons for both himself and others. He spoke with colleagues about the importance of calm communication, empathy, and patience, emphasizing that the human side of authority is just as important as procedural knowledge. This personal reflection, combined with public attention, helped create discussions within federal agencies about interagency communication, identification verification, and training for encounters with high-profile individuals. As the story continued to make headlines, the public became fascinated by the unusual circumstances. Analysts highlighted the risks involved, while everyday citizens debated what they would have done in the officer's place. Social media posts shared opinions, questions, and interpretations, reflecting a mixture of concern, curiosity, and admiration for the composure shown by the director. The public discourse emphasized the importance of understanding human behavior, recognizing the pressures faced by law enforcement, and appreciating the careful actions of both parties. The officer, after the review, received guidance and updated training. While he had followed protocol, the department emphasized scenarios where verification could be handled with additional communication to reduce tension. The lessons extended to all officers, ensuring that similar situations could be managed more smoothly in the future. The experience became a benchmark for teaching, illustrating the delicate balance between caution, authority, and human judgment. The officer reflected on the experience, recognizing the value of patience, measured responses, and professional humility. The director also shared insights from the encounter with his team. He highlighted how even someone in a position of power could be vulnerable, how rapid judgment can lead to misunderstandings, and how empathy can prevent escalation. These lessons were incorporated into discussions about training, strategy, and leadership. The incident became a practical example of how human instincts, when paired with calm thinking, could shape the outcome of unexpected situations. For those who followed his career, the story offered a rare glimpse into the personal experiences of someone at the highest levels of federal law enforcement. Public reaction remained mixed. Many praised the officer for his adherence to procedure and his caution, recognizing that he had acted under genuine concern for safety. Others questioned whether the situation could have been handled with more awareness and communication. The director's calm, respectful handling of the event was highlighted as a model for de-escalation, demonstrating how composure and patience could influence outcomes positively. Across communities, conversations grew about human judgment, the challenges of law enforcement, and the need for empathy and understanding in tense moments. For the officer, the experience became a turning point in his career. He approached future encounters with renewed awareness, mindful of the lessons learned that night. He emphasized communication, patience, and clarity, understanding how quickly situations can escalate if human behavior is not considered. The experience reinforced the importance of training, protocol, and thoughtful decision-making, shaping his professional perspective and approach to every encounter. The director, too, carried the lessons forward. He recognized that authority is not absolute, that vulnerability is universal, and that empathy is essential. He continued to advocate for better communication between federal and local law enforcement, emphasizing understanding, respect, and the human side of law enforcement work. The incident became a reference point for discussions, training and analysis illustrating how even brief, tense moments can teach profound lessons about responsibility, judgment, and human behavior. Over time, the story became a symbol of the unpredictable nature of human interactions. It showed how authority, caution, and vulnerability can intersect unexpectedly, how rapid decisions carry weight, and how empathy and composure can shape outcomes. The director and the officer, though from very different positions, had shared an experience that highlighted universal aspects of human behavior: fear, caution, responsibility, and understanding. Their encounter became a story not only about law enforcement, but about humanity itself. The city gradually returned to normal, but those who had witnessed or heard about the event remembered the tension, the flashing lights, and the charged atmosphere. The incident became a story often retold, emphasizing lessons learned, the importance of patience, and the value of clear communication. For the director and the officer, the night remained vivid, a reminder of how quickly ordinary situations can become extraordinary and how human judgment, empathy, and responsibility can shape outcomes. In reflection, the director recognized that this event, though unsettling, reinforced his understanding of human nature and the unpredictability of life. He valued the calm professionalism of the officer and the backup units, acknowledging that every decision made under pressure was a product of training, instinct, and responsibility. The officer similarly took pride in handling the situation with diligence and learned the lasting impact of patience, communication, and thoughtful action. Together, they had navigated a tense encounter that could have ended differently, emerging with insight, understanding, and respect for the challenges each had faced. The incident ultimately became a story of learning, humility, and shared human experience. It highlighted the importance of patience, empathy, and professionalism in every interaction. It emphasized that authority and vulnerability coexist, that decisions are influenced by fear and responsibility, and that understanding human behavior is critical. For both the FBI director and the officer, the encounter shaped their perspectives, their professional approaches, and their appreciation for the delicate balance of human judgment. As the public continued to discuss and analyze the story, the director and the officer remained grounded in the lessons of that night. The incident, though extraordinary, was also deeply human, reminding everyone involved of the power of calm, communication, and empathy. It was a story of tension resolved with patience, authority balanced by respect, and fear transformed into understanding. Both men carried the experience forward, applying its lessons to their work, interactions, and reflections on life. The night, its intensity and its lessons would remain vivid in memory, a testament to the complexity of human behavior and the enduring value of compassion, patience, and insight in every encounter.